Juliette Binoche, star of such films as Blue and The Unbearable Lightness of Being, is often described by her directors as luminous, angelic, and mysterious. On this program, Anthony Minghella, the director of her new film, The English Patient, called her, quote, his favorite actress in the world. In the film, which won the Golden Globe Award for Best Drama, she plays Hannah. I'm pleased to have her on this broadcast. Welcome. It's great to have you here.
Nice to be here.
Tell me, I'm in love with this movie, as you probably have heard. Michael was here, Anthony was here, Willem Dafoe was here, Kristen was here, which I know you talked about. Were you in love with the book from the first reading?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Very much so. I read it in English. I didn't understand everything because it was quite difficult.
Yeah.
Then I read the script, and I fell in love with the script. I couldn't even, finish the script because the last pages, I was crying so much. I couldn't read through, it was too much of a rain in front of me, But then I read the book in French again because I wanted to know everything in it. So, and I really appreciated it.
What was it that made it so powerful?
Well, you have time in a book to get inside of the characters, to lose yourself inside of the, areas you don't have time to lose yourself on movies. So a movie would be more linear as a book. But I think Anthony succeeded in the adaptation because he could back and forth so easily and get inside of different characters, Willem Dafoe's character. And so I think there was a great success in his work because it's so difficult to adapt a book. It seems impossible. And I know that Michael Nash said to me once, I'm so jealous of Anthony's because he made one of the best scenes ever, which is the scene in the chapel.
Oh, I love the chapel when you...
Yeah,
your character's flying up, looking at all the ceilings.
And Michael said, I would have loved to write this scene, and he was so angry in a way that he couldn't write this scene anymore because the book was published.
Yeah. The part of Hannah, for the audience who hasn't seen this film, tell me about Hannah. First as written by Michael, and then enlarged on by Anthony.
It's
and
true.
Then interpreted by you.
Right. I think she's different from the book because I would say she's almost darker in the book, as in the film. But the interesting thing for the film was, to start from a very low, things happening. She's losing her boyfriend, she's losing her best girlfriend, she's losing almost everything.
Everything she loves.
Exactly. And I think that bit by bit, hope's coming back to her. And taking care of this English patient, who's going through a very strange, experience, of being like a prisoner of his body and suffering so much, and life's coming back to him also. I think that the relationship they have together brings her back some kind of hope. So I think that in the film you have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And, she's alone on the track at the end of the movie, but yes, she's full of life, and she's ready for her own... For
the rest of her life.
Exactly. Which in the book it's more complex in a way, because you don't know if she's mad or something, there's so many things happening under. You're wondering sometimes. And there's one scene... Because some people said, it was maybe too angelic in the movie, but there's the scene, once you take this kind of the cross, to frighten the crowds. There's this moment of kind of you don't know whether she's going to be mad or what's happening in her, and that's I don't know. It's so complex when you imagine a film and when you see it, it's so different. So. When you read a book and when you see a movie, it's so different too,
Did you, when you came to the character and you had read the screenplay, did you sit with Anthony and talk about who she was?
Who she was, it's very difficult to tell, A person becomes what the situation tells, in a way.
Yeah.
But my discovery working with Anthony was that he was asking me questions.
Yeah, which was unusual for you because you're always asking questions of the director.
I ask questions more than they do, because they're the answers. And Anthony was searching for my answers and saying, what do you think? What's your involvement in it? And suddenly I felt responsible for the movie. And, for the Golden Globes last night. You know, when was that? So jet lag, I don't know anymore.
It was over the weekend. I think it may have been
right,
Saturday.
No, Sunday
Sunday
night.
night. Yes,
right,
Sunday
so
night.
last night. I know, the day before anyway.
Were you there?
Yes, we were all there, and we, not Willem and Naveen Andrews and Colin Firth and, you know, many actors, but yet we were all together on this table, and we felt like, you know, we win all together.
Yes.
Because it wasn't a film about one person, it was a teamwork and so much energy and time spent together.
Is it the best film experience you've ever had? Perhaps?
I think so, but you know, I forget the past so easily in a way. Yes, because it's better to be in present, I think, more than thinking about the past.
I do too. When you approach a role, how do you prepare? How do you, I mean, you read this book in English, then you read it in French, and then you had lots of questions, and he had questions of you, the director.
The best thing is to be prepared for anything.
Yeah.
So to open up and to be...
To be open to experience.
Exactly.
And reaction.
Exactly, and to be present is the most difficult thing, actually, you know.
Why is that?
Because you have to be there, and listening to someone, you have to be totally there and open, physically, spiritually, psychologically, in every levels. So that was the big work for me in that sense, that anything could happen. So that's why sometimes you let it go more easily, in a way, when you're more prepared. You know, you don't have the will of giving out something. You don't know what's going to happen. In the morning, I'm kind of, I don't know what's going to happen. So it's frightening, and at the same time, it's exciting. And so I was full of, in the morning of, you know, everyday shooting, I was kind of joyful, but I was so, I was trembling all the time.
Trembling? Because you didn't know what was going to happen. You didn't know how you would react to
I remember Anthony, you know, sometimes he was just saying, well, now forget everything, just... Which in other words, you know, meant fly, just go, just forget about everything, and that was scary.
Yeah. Your parents were both stage actors, divorced, but both in the theater. Is that why you became an actor? Because you just had so much of that in your genes, that sense of love of...
It's so difficult to explain why you were an actor, but it's...
You went to Paris when you were 15. You know.
But I was born in Paris.
But you were born in Paris. But you lived outside of Paris.
Yes.
Yes. And came and went to school in Paris at 15. Yeah. Intending to be an actor.
Well, I didn't know whether I wanted to be a painter or an actress or whatever. I didn't mind, actually. It wasn't the purpose. It was just to be creative and do something out of my hands, out of my mind, and thoughts and feelings, and that was it, you know. But it's true, as an actor, you involve yourself physically, you know, and it's much more dangerous in a way, but it's very exciting.
You once said, I thought was an amazing sense of insightful, you worked as a clerk in a store.
Yeah.
And you said you learned as much from watching people in a store.
It's the same thing as, you know, when you're acting, you have to listen to people. And you have to watch and observe and learn from that. Otherwise, you can't give something back on the, you know, on the camera, because we're actors for the others, not for ourselves.
Did Goddard give you a break? Did he create a character for you?
I remember I did some tests.
That was early on.
That was like one of my first casting thing. And I came back like 5 times. It was a nightmare. And it's true, I wasn't chosen. And 2 weeks afterwards, he phoned me up and said, well, I thought of a character, you know, for you, so I wrote something. And so that's why, you know, I ended up being in his movie. Yeah. That was one of my first jobs.
And did it make a difference for you?
Afterwards?
Yeah.
No.
You didn't?
You know, it's never finished. It's not because you've done that role that you're gonna, you know, it's gonna work.
It didn't open doors or anything?
I've never felt, you know, that that's it, you know, now I can be, everything's fine, it's easy. It's never easy, you know, even when you've done something so special and even good, you know. The next step is very difficult, you know, because you don't know how shall I put it, you know, it's just that, I wish I could do another English Patient, but it's not that easy, you know, to find that kind of movie.
This is a clip in which Caravaggio, played by Willem Dafoe, is challenging you to ask the English Patient, played by Rafe, his identity, claiming that he is a spy. Here it is. Wow. You've seen it 5 times. Normally you don't watch your films.
No, just
More than
once, and that's it. You know, that's enough. Usually one time is enough. Though, you know.
Why is that? I mean, some actors like to watch it and watch it. We're looking for ways that...
I'm interested in the process of working, not very much on the result.
End result.
In a way, but this film, you know, there's the half of it, you know, at least, you know, I'm not in the movie, so I was discovering something I didn't know about. So that was, you know, mystery for me that I wanted to see. And also, there were so many premieres everywhere, and so sometimes I felt like watching it, you know. It's different when you watch a movie with the friends, you know, with your friends or your parents or your girlfriend or your boyfriend, you know, then it's, you feel like sharing that, especially when you love the movie. But usually, you know, what for? You know, why do you need to see that much, you know? You've done it. You know the movie.
What do you like best about acting?
It's to forget yourself.
Becoming someone else.
Yeah. Well, when you play a situation, when you listen to someone, you forget about yourself. You just, instead of what's going on. That I love.
Why?
And also be part of a team, you know. It's individuals' work, but at the same time, it's a teamwork. And if an ego is too strong in a way, it breaks the energy. So I like when everything is working together and trying to do the best thing for the same purpose.
And that's rare.
That can happen. That happens sometimes. Blue was a good experience as far as, you know, as a teamwork. It was good.
Was he a good director?
Kieslowski?
Yes.
Oh, yes. No doubt about it.
Had an influence on you?
Every day when I was shooting with him, of course.
Yeah. He died when, 6 months ago? Was it about 6 months ago?
I think it's a little more than that.
Yeah. What was he like as a director?
First of all, he was a good person, which I think goes together sometimes, you know, a good person being a good director. Because, you know, they try to help you, you know. Some directors, they don't care about actors, you know. They don't try to help them, you know. They're more interested into what they think and what they, you know, how you should play that because they thought about it, you know. It's like you have to be in the puzzle, you know, and to match what they thought about. And making a movie, for me, it's different because it's a teamwork again. You know, you're trying your best and to get as close as possible with the other. And I think Kieslowski was, he didn't care about himself, you know, as I didn't care about myself. It was about the story of the film and doing the best as we could.
How much of your talent and skill and craft as an actor is just who you are naturally? What are the person that you were born, the characteristics that you have, as much as it is study and practice and rehearsal and hard work? How much of it's just you were born with certain something, luminescence, certain something?
So you want me to define?
Yeah. I mean, you know, it just seems that you have something that's beyond craft, too. I mean, that you brought to the...
Oh, well, your experience, and it's so, you know, when I involve myself in a movie, sometimes I know without knowing.
Yeah.
I know because it's my intuition. So I work mostly with my intuition, and it comes out of probably childhood but I don't have a specific, you know, way of working. It depends on the movie, and it changes all the time. Like I have to adapt myself with the director sometimes. Kieslowski would do only one take, rehearse like 4 or 5 times, and then do just one take. And I was used to doing another film with a young director called Léo Scarax, which was Les Amants du Pont-Neuf. We did about 40 takes each time, sometimes more than 40 takes. And so it was the reverse for me, and I felt very uncomfortable to start with. I asked Kieslowski, it's impossible. You know, you have to allow me to do another take at least 2 takes so I can make a mistake. And I was so furious sometimes because when the camera was, you know, didn't work, we would do another take because of the camera or because of sound or because of whatever, light or whatever. And I said, well, let's say that I'm a machine and it doesn't work and technically I had a problem. Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
And so the first one of shooting, you know, he let me have my second take most of the time. But it was a fight each time, which is very tiring, you know, for me. And so the second month, I was so exhausted by it. I said, well, okay, it's your film, 1 take, it's your problem, it's not mine.
And so what did he say? Fine?
He said fine, you know, because he said, you know, it's nonsense to do another take when you can do only 1 take, which is just fine. Yeah. Also, he was used to, you know, in Poland, he was used to do
Shooting
just
fast.
1 take because it's no money.
No film.
No film.
Right.
No nothing. You just have, you know, as condensed as possible.
The director was Léos Carax, am I saying that right? Of the Pont Neuf?
Yes.
Yeah, am I saying that?
Les Amants du Pont Neuf.
Yes. It took him 3 years to make that film because of financing and everything else. You did nothing else during that 3 years.
It's true.
Out of a commitment to him and to the film.
Right.
That says something about dedication and loyalty and...
Well, I think when you engage yourself, you know, you have to do it.
And the intensity of all that impacted on the relationship.
Yes and no. You know, it's funny because at the same time, you know, tears are coming back to me because it was a painful experience in a way. But at the same time, because, you know, we didn't have money.
Yeah. It's okay.
And but I learned a lot. I learned so much about it.
Yeah. Well, and that's the best experience, though, in a sense. It's painful, but if 2 people struggling to do something together,
yeah,
you know, you pay a price. There's a toll.
Well, that was positive at the end because first of all, we really did it, you know, against big waves and against a lot of, you know, bad thoughts and things coming out, you know, outside. But
was it crushing for you that it didn't do as well as it might have?
Well, you know, you shouldn't get too much, as an actor, I think, too much involved into the success of the film, you know? Yeah. Sometimes it works, and each time I've been trying my best, so, you know, it has nothing to do with the result of whether it's going to work or not, because it's another world for me. When I'm in the front of camera, I'm not thinking about whether it's going to work or not. You're doing your best. You're trying
living the part.
Yeah, you're trying to do the best film. So if you think of the result while you're making it, I think it's... Imagine a painter trying to put the right color to please the person who's going to buy it.
Please yourself.
You have to commit yourself and to be as close as possible, as the others, you know.
Let me just set up a scene in blue, because we talked about that before we leave it. This is a scene where your character meets her dead husband's mistress. What else do we need to know about it?
Well, that my husband and daughter died in a car accident at the beginning of the movie, and that she's gonna quit everything, but at the same time she's gonna search for other things.
Yeah.
And she's discovering. It's quite a complicated story, isn't it? But she's discovering that he had a mistress. So she wants to find her, and she meets her. She's looking for her, and she meets her, and there's this scene, and she sees that she's pregnant.
Okay.
And at the end, she's going to give their house to that woman.
Roll tape. That was Blue, a film that a lot of people admired in your performance. Unbearable Lightness of Being. A good experience for you?
A marvelous experience.
Because?
Because of Saul Zaentz, because of Daniel Day-Lewis, because of Phil Kaufman, because of...
Saul Zaentz is the producer who also produced The English Patient.
Yes. He's my father of movies.
Your father of movies? Yeah. He's produced all the movies?
Come work with us.
Oh, is that what he says? So he's responsible for you?
I think Anthony and him, you know, they felt the same thing, because Anthony told me that at the first page he was reading the book, he thought of me in the movie, so I suppose that they agreed, you know?
Yeah. And you got the call
Yes.
From Anthony or from Saul?
Saul.
Yeah. And you said, yes, yes.
Oh, yes, because I trust him.
Because you trust him. If he thought it was right, it would be right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And what about Unbearable Lightness of Being? Same thing? Saul thought about you?
No, not as easy as this one.
Was that Philip Kaufman or Saul again?
That was kind of both of them.
Yeah.
But they asked me for Sabina, you know, which is the other part. But I thought I was much too young for the part.
Yeah.
But I came with my paintings and stuff, you know, because Sabina is a painter in the movie. And they asked me to read Teresa's scene and 2 scenes of Sabina because Lina Olin was pregnant at that time. So they didn't know whether she was going to deliver the child. But I think it was a trick in a way because they hired someone for Teresa, but I think they thought, you know, maybe I could do it. So sometimes this work is tough.
Yeah.
You're in a movie and suddenly you get fired in a way, ejected. But I read the scene and then they wanted me in the movie, so I had to get on this, you know, the Unbearable 3 days after they said yes. So it was very quick.
Yeah. If you look at the parts you've played, including Damage, including Unbearable, including Blue, including English Patient, including...
Of Mike Figgis.
Yes. Yeah. Mike Figgis film.
Wuthering Heights.
Wuthering Heights, with Rafe as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Is there any common denominator in terms of the kinds of characters you play?
Me?
Yes. That you're playing them. I mean, if I looked at all of them in a row, would I see... Do you see anything?
I think there's a connection between the Unbearable, Mara, and the English Patient.
Which is?
Which is more open, in a way.
More open.
Yeah.
Darker or lighter?
Lighter.
Lighter.
Even, you know, Mara, there's sad moments, and, you know, I mean, it's not only sad because it doesn't mean anything, but it's just fragile, vulnerable moments, you know, that you go through. And still, you know, in the English Patient, too, but there's some kind of lightness coming out of it. Yeah. And sometimes the more you're fragile, the more you're strong. And that would be the thing, you know, strength and doubts at the same time. I think we need earthquakes in life. Otherwise, we all the same.
To shake us up.
To move on, to open up, to grow, to be more human. Because we're too educated sometimes. I think.
And we get too caught up in our fixed ways.
And believing in ourselves so much, especially in our business, you know.
When was the last earthquake in your life?
Los Angeles earthquake. But lately, I have to say, I was involved in a movie, and I didn't get along with the director, and I was fired.
Claude Berry.
Last year, and it was a real earthquake for me. But I think I'm going to thank him one day. Even, you know, I got so... I didn't understand when that happened, you know, and I think he was a coward because he didn't tell me in front, you know, so he asked somebody else to tell me, so that was a real shake for me.
Oh, God,
that's the way it is, you know, but I think, you know...
He didn't have the guts to come and tell you that he didn't want you...
Well, no, I think that some people, you know, they can't handle the situation, and that was it, you know, I was hurt when that happened, but at the same time I understand, because some people can and some people can't, and maybe, you know... We'll talk to one another, you know, one day about it. But it was a real shock because I was coming out of the English Patient, was open like this, wanting to do the best as I could, and actually I couldn't. Yeah. I couldn't on this movie. So
why not? Do you know why you couldn't? Because of him or because of something else?
I won't accuse anybody, but I think there's some, you know, spirits that can't meet. You'd better get away when you can, you know, when you can't have a relationship.
Oil and water. The expression oil and water, they don't mix.
Well, the source, you know, you have to begin with the same source and the same purpose. If you don't have the same purpose, then you get in trouble.
It was painful at the time because you felt rejected? You felt...
Because I was so involved in the movie. I wanted to tell the story. Lucie Aubrac was a real character, you know, the resistance during the war in France, and I love her, and we're still friends, and you know, have a wonderful relationships. And I wanted to make this movie for her. It wasn't for another purpose, and I think Claude wanted to make another movie in a way.
But you're strong. My sense of you is that on the set and in your relationship with directors.
I'm myself. I don't think I'm strong or weak. I'm just myself, and it means to react as you are and not trying to hide or to please somebody. You know, it's upfront, and that's why Anthony and we got along so well, because it was so obvious. You know, it's not chilling around and trying to have the cover. You say that?
Yes.
You know, you try to pull it. You know, it wasn't about that. It was about being oneself and be free on the screen, on the screening.
And that for the performance is so much better.
Oh yes, because then people can read through you like a book. You know, you become a book. You know, people can imagine or do some work with you, not only watch and everything's done. You know, fires, pom 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 pom, and it's done. It's over. It's about what's inside of someone and what's going on.
Are you happiest when you're in front of a camera? Because you're someone else.
It's not because of the camera, it's because of the people around the camera. That's why when you're choosing a film and you're choosing to work with the director, I think it's and the actors, of course, and of course the whole crew, it's so important.
I didn't mean so much because you're in front of a camera, therefore you're being recorded, but more in a sense you're doing what you love to do. And in a sense, that's who you are.
Find a note. Dustin Hoffman was saying that on that night, the Golden Globes night, and to find the note is the most important thing.
Find the note.
Find the note. You know, like Igor Stravinsky was trying to find the note. It's not about premiere. It's not about the outside thing, you know, or the consequence of it. It's the real work, which, you know, we that's why I still want to be an actress. You know, success is not enough.
Yeah. You're quite wonderful, and I thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
It's a real pleasure to have you here. Good
Thanks.
luck.
Thanks.
Find the point.
Note.
Note. Find the note. Yes, find the note. Juliette Binoche in The English Patient. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow night. An hour with Liam Neeson.